Is a man still attached to mommy and daddy if he stays with them? Today we have another edition of Internet Unhinged Take Reactions. We are taking a look at the crazy factory that is Twitter, otherwise known as X. I don't know when they changed the name. I still like Twitter, but that's a different topic altogether. I'm going to read you some of the tweets that got a lot of people talking, a lot of pushback and virality. I'll show you some of the reactions to those tweets, and finally I will share my own thoughts on the matter. So let's get into it. First one goes, when getting married, there shouldn't be a huge discussion about how and where to spend the holidays. A woman joins her husband's family, not vice versa. She leaves her family, takes his name, and joins herself to his life. This is what it looks like to leave girlhood behind. Quite the hot take, isn't it? So let me read you some of the responses and then I will let you know my thoughts. A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. He is the one no longer a part of his family. A man and a woman form a new family with their own priorities and traditions. This is so stupid. Both parties leave and cleave, becoming one flesh. That's wild because Genesis 2:24 says the opposite. The opposite of what the Bible teaches. I think you missed the first page of the Bible, my friend. It says a man leaves his mother and father to cling to his wife. This is rage bait, and you know it. No one deserves to be alienated from their families if they want to see them. That's the making of a Lifetime movie. This patriarchal view of marriage isn't really written into either nature or Christianity, so it depends on your familial culture. In practice, most families that not end up spending more time with the wife's family because women are the ones making the social engagements. My dear, marriage is a joining of two families. I know you're struggling with your own very difficult relatives as you form your new family. Yay for your beautiful baby and happy marriage. But it doesn't mean all wives should ignore their parents in favor of their in-laws. Huge disagree. Daughters stay close to mothers. Men, once they marry, their wife is more important than their mothers. This is how our culture is designed. My son's my son till he hath got him a wife. But my daughter's my daughter all days of her life. English proverb. So I'm only reading to you guys the ones that have more than 100 likes. In general consensus, the ones that have more than 100 likes are disagreeing with her. And there's quite a few men disagreeing with her as well. So let's read some of the quotes to her tweet. Only abusive partners wish to cut their partners from their families or support system. A healthy marriage means respect and consideration for parents of both husband and wife. You should assume responsibility for both sides. This isn't a rage bait. And it's a hill I'll die on. No, marriage is about compromise. Both families are important. This is a trash opinion, not at all what marriage is about. So the majority of the highly engaged posts are disagreeing with her. Someone said, wrong, you pick whoever's family is the most fun. I don't want to say I agree with that, but that person has a point. Now, I'll tell you what my read on that is. As I said, this is quite the hot take. First, we have the oversimplification and generalization. Everyone should live like this. This person who writes this tweet actually has quite a unique lifestyle, even for right-wing conservative people. She comes from a family with lots and lots of children. She identifies as a fourth generation undocumented American. She and her husband live like vagabonds, and she has in her bio embracing third world values. Now, where in the third world, she does not specify. Many people, in fact, most people, see marriage as a union of two families. And this wording leaves no room for interpretation or the idea that both spouses should leave and cleave, which is in Genesis. Then there's the aspect of saying she joins his life, which implies the erasure of her identity, which in some conservative ultra-traditionalist circles and spaces might agree with. But from a biblical and conservative reasonable point of view, male headship doesn't mean female erasure. It's meant to involve mutual honor, protection, and sacrifice from both parts. That's Ephesians 5:25. This comment about no discussion implies authoritarianism and not a union of mutual respect and affection. The assumption that quote-unquote taking his name is also conflating tradition with virtue. Name taking is a cultural practice in the Anglosphere. It's not even a cultural practice in all of the Christian world, at least not the way Americans do it. It's not a moral command either. A woman who can share her husband's name or not, and that doesn't determine the spiritual and moral strength of the marriage, in my opinion. Many Western countries hyphenate, or a woman adds her husband's name to her name. That's what we do. The idea of taking his name and erasing yours is entirely culturally specific, and the rage around it is manufactured, in my opinion. It isn't innate to us. And then she says, leaving girlhood behind, as opposed to boyhood. Is a man still attached to mommy and daddy if he stays with them? Let's be consistent here, please. Lastly, she seems to be calling for sort of neo-patriarchal lifestyle. In patriarchal agrarian societies, wives tended to join the man's family. Sure, this is true. They join the man's family in the farm. This is no longer the case. Post-industrial revolution, grasping to relics of the past that were done mostly for economic and practical reasons is simply not practical these days. Okay. Whew. We got through that one. Now the next one is from a popular creator called Devin Stack, who was criticizing President Vance for carrying his own child. So let's read that tweet. But before that, let me know in the comments if this is the type of content you like, reacting to Unhinged takes on X or Twitter or any of the other internet world. Let me know, please, please, please. I might make this a series. Anyways, the tweet. He's carrying his kid and walking behind his wife like a dutiful Labrador, and most people don't even notice because of decades of inept dad fag versus powerful wife propaganda make them think it's heartwarming. He's the vice president for sake. So yes, in this instance, the implication here is that carrying his own child is beneath him. Also, he says carrying a kid, not his kid. Okay, notice the difference. Important distinction. Mr. Stack, this is a kid, but to the VP, he is his own child. So, note, Devin Stack is in his 40s and has not experienced fatherhood except for, his own childhood where his father abandoned him. Sorry to say, but that's just what happened. So let's take a look at the comments. Real leaders travel in the back of the pack. See alpha wolves and stallions, they always keep their eyes on the ones they're protecting. The fact that you think you need to walk in front to show your status just shows you're pathetically insecure and care only for yourself. Like you, J.D. Vance was abandoned by his father, but unlike you, he resolved to not let it turn him into a resentful bundle of sticks, but rather to turn around and be a dedicated and involved father himself. Oh no, a father carrying his child and walking behind his wife. So 1, he can keep all those important things in eyesight, and 2, gets to check out his wife's. Okay. Again, I'm going to read only the ones with high engagement, not because the other ones are in any way bad takes, I just, for the interest of time. I don't know what's wrong with you. I love carrying my little angel in my arms, keenly aware that the last day she's small and young enough for me to do so will eventually arrive. It's an opportunity I never pass up, no matter how tired I am. Guys, I think we've found the male right-wing equivalent of the childless cat lady. Fellas, is it gay to love your wife and children? Yes, it is, according to Devin Stack, apparently, and Nick Fuentes. If you haven't ever intentionally carried your youngest child while they sleep because you know that they grow up really fast and someday you've carried them for the last time, then you don't know why he's doing it, but I do. He's a dad. Leave him alone to carry his child. Ooh, that got me. That got me because I have a baby right now, and the idea of one day not carrying her anymore because she's gonna be too big it hits. It hits for sure. I remember my dad carrying all 3 of us simultaneously, something that my mom would not be able to do. Let's keep reading some of the comments. Backwards take, a strong father carries her sleeping 6 to 7 year old because it's physically difficult for the wife to manage at that age and because they want to. It's not long after this stage that a kid doesn't want to be held at all. I don't think you have kids with a post like this. If you have a toddler who wants daddy to pick her up, you pick her up and you're thrilled that she wants you to pick her up, especially because she preferred mommy for so long. Really lame post. Dads carry sons because they get too heavy for moms to carry for far distances. I do think for both of my sons because it's my duty as a man to take care of my kids and help my woman where I can. So then he replied to the backlash he was getting. White knighting emasculated dad fags incoming. To which people said, you sound really psychotic. Take your meds, you miserable. Sorry. But he got some agreement. I don't really remember where it is. But the agreement that I read tended to be around the aesthetics, how it looks to carry his own kid. Because apparently it is not a masculine look. I think I found one of the people said, this is an example of universal progressivism. The expectation of childcare type behaviors by fathers is now absolutely universalized across the political spectrum. A VP in 1900s probably never changed a diaper in his life, but we are all progressives feminists now. So obviously this person is agreeing with Evan Stack. Like this thing about carrying babies and whatnot is a feminist and a progressive thing. That we shouldn't be doing it. Now he got the reply, tell it to this guy, Teddy Roosevelt carrying a baby. And this other person said, also describing parenting as somehow demeaning is exactly why many people choose not to have kids. You can't encourage people to do something while also acting like it's beneath you. Stay-at-home mom of 4 before anyone starts. And someone said, no. What's really weird is a woman of her status doing lots of childcare. In the past, wealthy high-status women had nannies and governesses, and they didn't do this either. This is 100% true. So before I'm going to not keep reading any of the comments. I read a book recently. I don't remember the topic, why I remember this specifically. But wealthy women in France in the 18th century oftentimes sent their babies off to the countryside to be taken care of by governesses, milkmaids, nursemaids, and whatnot, because they had their own lifestyle to keep up. A lot of these kids died along the way or while being taken care of by these women in the countryside because there were too many of them to take care of. So this is 100% true. You cannot say like we need to return to the past, but only the woman needs to stay in the present of taking care of her own children, wealthy women that is, because wealthy women in the past didn't take care of their own children either. I mean, today a lot of them don't either, but that was a traditional and normal way. Like mothers barely spend any time with their own babies and children. And I think a lot of the commenters said this already, but there's an implication in this post by Devin Stack that taking care of children is beneath this man, is demeaning, is less than. And he, as I've seen some of the content, his content, he actually is quite a good content creator, but I can disagree with him here. And I'm sure in other aspects I haven't seen all of his content, I've seen some. You cannot encourage strong families, people to desire this lifestyle, especially women, that you want them so hard to have multiple children, while simultaneously sending the message out that men who take care of children, well, that's beneath them. That is a lower status position. Because believe it or not, women can hear those messages and say, well, if they think this is lower status in a lower position, why should I do it? Yes, you're gonna say, well, they shouldn't care. They should want to anyways. Okay, shouldn't men want to take care of their own children? And I will say this. I appreciate all of the people in the comment section that replied to him in the thread that, fought back against him. It was very clear to me that the ones who agreed, yes, the post was mostly negative reactions, thankfully. But the ones who agreed were people that typically share this view about looks, optics, and what looks masculine and not masculine. And those guys none of them, I can bet, have children of their own. I discussed this with my husband, and he was bewildered at the idea of not carrying his own baby. My father, my dad, carried the three of us simultaneously when we were kids, up until the point that we didn't want to be carried anymore. Do you think my mom could have carried the three of us simultaneously? No. And I have great memories and photos of my dad doing just that. I have also photos of my mom carrying me, but I don't have any photos of my mom carrying the three of us simultaneously. Yes, this post got attacked. This post got downvoted hard, or, ratioed. But I still thought it was good to bring up this type of things that get filtered sometime in these spaces by influential voices that still, after being in spaces of the conservative or right-wing space for so long, still view that they advocate for women as lower status and demeaning. Anyways, that's it for now. Let me know if you want more of this kind of content, and I'll see you next time.